can get Judge Devitt to come up now and add a certain dignity to the proceedings, even though he's without his robes or a stroller, his walker, his subpoena, or his gavel. The full-handed, clean-eyed Judge Edward Devitt.
Well, Mr. Farmer, Senator, and friends, well, I think it's a great thing that we all got together here tonight. It's a very bad night. We all need our mittens and our snow tires. It's a great thing for us to come and pay honor to Glen, Glen Johnson. Whatever his name is, it's good that we're all here to pay tribute. We have to pay tribute to somebody after the prayer and the singing. Well, I guess that fellow Olson has been around here for about 20 years. He just kind of showed up in the scene. I'm sure that nobody asked him to come. I don't even think John Nash did, but he came. I can never understand where he came from. Sometimes he says he came from Wisconsin, and sometimes he said he came from Indiana. He had kind of a nebulous background, it seemed to me. He said he was a salesman of some kind. Many times he told us, hasn't he told you about it? That he was a pilot of Jenny's in World War I. Have you heard that story?
That's true. I know Jenny too.
Jenny too, yeah. Maybe it was in World War II he was some kind of a pilot. I don't see why we should spend our time in a night like this paying tribute to a 5'5" Norwegian. It isn't your fault. But you're all right. The thing I could never understand about him is what he was doing here or how he came here. He's kind of a boomer. Do you know what a boomer is? One of those fellows keeps moving around. Well, a farmer, he's an example. Kind of a boomer newspaper man from Manhattan, Kansas or someplace like that. Well, Olson is the same kind of a fellow, kind of a boomer. And he lined up here and calls himself a banker. I don't know what bank he's with or what he does at the bank. I think he's with that, as I understand it, he's with that bank that's over there by the river near the Pioneer Building, the one that's detached facility for the Minneapolis First. Is that the bank that you're with?
Close.
No, you don't need to say anything. If you just bow your head.
Yes, right. Yes, is it the American?
Right.
Empire.
Well, what empire? One of the reasons I think that he's with the American National Bank, that I was standing one time in the lobby of the teller section of the American National Bank, talking to my friend Bill Gardner, who's a guard there, and I saw a fellow named Jim Regan, who's president of that bank, come up to Glen Olson and he said, "Oh, I'm so glad to meet you." He said, "You've been on the payroll here for so long." But he calls himself a banker, and I guess maybe he is a banker. He draws a check from someplace. He's been here only about 20 years. He's pushed his way into our society, but he really isn't one of us. Are there any Norwegians here tonight? If there are, I'm sorry, Stan. I'm sorry. I always forget that you're one of them. Well, anyway, one of the big things that that this fellow Olson is always bragging about is the fact that he's president of the Norski Torski Klub,
Yeah, there.
which I may say for you non-Scandinavians is the Norwegian Fish Club, the Norwegian Torsk Club. I don't know how he got to be president of it, but he is, and he resides there with great aplomb. One of the things that's always irritated Bob Gallivan and I is that the way you and farmers have pushed your way into the St. Patrick's Day Association. And you've been just as bad as he is. What nationality are you, farmer?
Irish Lutheran.
Well, he's kind of a boomer, and so is Olson, and they kind of pushed their way in, and the two of them sponsored that poor man from Wisconsin who was up here. And of course, he must be an Irish Lutheran too, because you awarded him that worst Irish tenor thing for 12 years.
Year after year, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's a kind of Olson is kind of a chiseler into things. He got into the Norski Torski, and he got into the St. Patrick's Day Association. And then he's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde about many things, too. You read in the paper by our excellent newspaper reporter about his episodes as Glenda, that very clumsy, fat waitress who sticks her thumb in our soup and who embarrasses. He got kicked out of Bob Gallivan's place. He got kicked out of your place one time, didn't he, Bob?
Several times.
Several times. And sometimes he's presented to be Lester Cudahy, some kind of a fictitious architect. He's always pretending to be somebody else. And at times he collects money for making speeches to regular banquets as a Minnesota Commissioner of Inspection. Kind of a hypocrite. But I don't know what else you can expect from a Norwegian. You can't expect too much. But I suppose there's another side to Glen Olson. I don't know what it is, but because you've got the smile of a nice fellow. You've got the smile of a nice person. Maybe after all, when we make a fair appraisal of your presence in this community, and your presumptions, and your presentations, and your chiseling into all of our associations after you've only been here 20 years. And we people from St. Paul, you know, don't think much of you interlopers. But maybe there's another side. I've talked to Mary Kay, to whom you've been married for almost 40 years. I've visited with your children. I've visited with the pastor of your church. And they all seem to say that there's some redeeming features to it. I'm not sure that I know what they are. Maybe it's the fact that you've got that nice, great big smile. You're always smiling at everybody. You always seem to be concerned about everybody. You're really, I think, a lovable person for all of your faults. You're a good husband. You're a good father. You're a good American. You know, one day I was coming back from the athletic club and I walked through his bank. And he stopped me and he started to mumble. He mumbles a lot, you know, and he started to tell stories. He tells the same story over and over and over. See how they responded to that? It must be true. And I said, Glenn, I've got to get over to court because at 2 o'clock I have to swear in 100 new American citizens. Oh, he said, yes, yes, yes. I said, well, and he kept talking. I said, come along with me and make a speech to the new citizens, won't you? He said, I will. And believe it or not, he followed me along, and about 3 minutes later, we got to the courtroom over there. We walked in, I administered the oath to these new citizens, and I introduced the Honorable Glen Olson, Vice President of the American National Bank, to make a speech to new citizens. He made the best speech to new citizens I have ever heard in 30 years as a federal judge. He didn't have any of that foolishness about him. He wasn't pretending to be anybody else. He was speaking as Glen Olson, the the son or the grandson of immigrants from the old world. And he told those people what a great blessing it was to be an American citizen, and he told them about the great obligations they had as American citizens. It was really a sterling speech. When I read in the paper that he decided to retire from the bank, I called him up and I said, Glenn, come on back and make a speech again. And I got it a week ago, last Tuesday, he came back and he made another excellent speech. He's really got some redeeming features. We all of us love you to come out on a night like this. We're not going to buy any of that crap you got. We want to tell you, Glenn, that you're all right. You're all right. That's kind of a negative imprimatur about you. But we're maybe very fortunate that you came here 20 years ago from wherever the hell you did, because you've graced our community and you've blessed us and you've lightened our lives and you've minimized the problems in the world that we have, and you've brought us joy and brought us happiness. And his ancestors from the old world have an expression which is "tak persist," which among Norwegians means it's an expression of love and affection and respect. And whenever Norwegians embrace and see each other, they say to each other, "tak persist." As the people from Hawaii say "haloa," and that too is an expression of great love and affection in addition to being hello and goodbye. And I'm thinking tonight about a time when I held court in San Juan, Puerto Rico for a long time, and I kept meeting the people from Puerto Rico, and their gesture of friendship and love was not to talk, but to reach into their pocket and give you a cigar, which is the highest tribute and expression of affection which Puerto Ricans can give you. And the Jewish people, and I speak now for Archie Gingold and his friends with whom I came tonight, have an expression, salam. And so I say to you tonight, on behalf of all of your friends who are here and the many who aren't here, we say shalom, we say tak persist, I give you a cigar, and on behalf of the Irish people I say, Glen Olson, we shall always hold you in the palm